Hey guys, it's South African Chris here from New Zealand. How are you? I hope you're doing great. We're looking at another episode of Top Stocks, US Top Stocks, and we're using the MI Pro software. There's been some really exciting updates on the software, which I'm going to be talking about real soon. So currently I'm running the stock scanner, and we're looking for stocks with a minimum last close of $20 a stock and a maximum of 2,500 and a volume greater than 500,000 for yesterday. And then the stochastics, we're looking back 2 days where the stochastic value is below 40 but above 20. So we're looking for that oversold level on the stocks, and we're also looking for stacked bullish EMAs and SMAs, meaning the 18, the 50, the 100 and the 150 EMAs we want nicely stacked below each other, indicating that it is a bullish trend. And we're looking for a minimum ATR, average true range, of $5 a stock. So you'll see the stock's currently running. It's currently at almost 800 from 7,243, and it's found 4 so far. So we're going to let this run for a bit, and then I'm going to show you, before we dive into today's top stock, some of the great new features that I've added to the program, and we'll then talk about our top stocks. I'll see you in a second. And we're back. All right. So we've scanned through all of these, and it's come up with 26 in the short list. So we're going to run through them and see what's happening. Now, I had a quick look over at Finviz, and I can see that healthcare is doing good on the one-day results. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's just pop over here to Finviz, and what I like to do is to go over to groups, and we just look at the sector performance. So you'll see on the one-day performance, healthcare at the top, communication services, real estate, utilities, technology, right? And for 1 week relative performance, we've got communication services at the top, real estate, technology, consumer, cyclical, healthcare, utilities, blah, blah, blah. And for 1 month, energy, consumer, healthcare, communication, technology. So technology not at the top, healthcare not doing too bad, real estate not doing too bad, energy not doing too bad. All right, so the ones we don't want to get into necessarily here are defensive, industrials, financial. And that's pretty much it. So, right, popping back over here. Now, let's have a look at this. So, I'm going to jump into ALGN, so I'll just double click on that. And what it's doing is it's retrieving the stock data in the background, and it's going to publish this in the chart for us. And you'll see I've added a few new cool features to the chart. So obviously we've got our automatically detected support and resistance lines here. I'm using a new algorithm for that I'm testing out, so it's slightly different from the version that if you have it, if you're using the software. Download link, by the way, at the bottom and on the bumworks.nz/MIPro website, link below in the description. Anyway, so if you're using that, it might look a bit different. You'll also notice I've added some other indicators here. This is called the Donchian channel. So I've read up a little bit on this, and while looking for algorithms on generating the support and resistance lines, I found a lot of content on the Donchian channel, and it looks pretty interesting, and you can have a read all about it, but it's a fairly decent indicator. I'll paste a link in the description on that as well. You can have a read up on that. Anyway, it's there. Also, I've added a whole bunch of features to check and detect candle patterns, a lot better than I did before. So now you'll see there's a whole lot of them. And if we look at the last one, which was on the 22nd, we can see there's a belt hold. And now you can just click on it, and this will open up the Google engine for you, and it will automatically populate that, and you can start searching through the definitions and what that means. So bearish belt holds, candlestick pattern that forms during upward trend, blah blah blah, and it will, you can kind of have a read on it and see what that means. And this is all just to help you identify the perfect trades. Also, new formulas for determining the ADX, and I do that for different look back periods for 14, 7, and 3, so we can see all of this indicating a strong trend. And finally, I've added a quick predict button right here in this dialog where it can do quick prediction for us, saying $518.27. We're currently on 534, so it looks like the machine learning is saying it might go down. So if we look at the stochastics, we can see it's looking okay. It's not turned around yet, so it's not at the perfect or optimum buying time. But definitely on the MACD, we can see a crossover there from bullish, the blue line, below the red line to bearish. The red is the signal line, and that tells us that potentially this is not a great stock. And we can also see from the RSI here at the bottom, we can see that taking a sharp dip towards that midline in the 50. So all in all, maybe not the perfect stock to trade at this stage. So I'm going to close this one. Do I want to keep it in the watch list at this stage? No. Right, let's try this next one. So here we've got Antm, and I'm going to jump into this one and have a look and see what's happening any minute now. So there we go. We can see the Donkin channels, we can see the EMAs and the SMAs. By the way, I can remove these if I want to, if it gets too much. And we can see those support and resistance lines. So it looks like we're bouncing off of a support line there at the bottom. We're below the EMA. Any significant candle patterns here on the 22nd? There's a closing Morobozu. Then also, let's see if there's another one on the 22nd here. There's a long candle line. What else? That's it. So if we look at this one, the closing Morobozu, then we see the following. It's a stronger candlestick pattern is formed when the close price is equal to blah blah yakety schmackety. So it tells us that it is quite an indicative and a strong candle pattern, and we can see on this one is bearish. So make of that what you will. Now again, we see a crossover on the MACD, we see a drop on the RSI, and if I do a prediction, it'll probably be lower than $314, and it is, so it's $302. So we could go short on these ones, but the stars are just not aligning on these, so I'm going to hit no. Now, I'm going to go through the rest of these, and once I've actually found the ones that I do want to trade, I'm going to share those with you. Right, so I'll be back in a second. Right, I found one here that is looking good. So on the predicted close here, it says $104.26. That's quite a bit more than the closing of 99 we've got here. Well, not that much, about 5%, but it's something. We've got a Harami pattern there that is bullish. We can see that it's trending up. It's actually just above that midline on the Donkin channel, indicating that it's bullish. It is at the pivot point, it seems, here on the stochastics. There's a bit of a gap on the MACD. There is good momentum on the RSI, so we can see that bouncing back up, potentially hitting that top again. And on the ATR, it's looking good. So this is looking like a good trade. Did we have any historical trades on this? Yes, we did. So on the 2nd I bought, and on the 5th I sold. I lost on this one, minus 4%, which is terrible. This is what the patterns look like on, on the, come back. This is what the patterns looked on when I bought, and it was bullish. This looked good. There was a bit of a downtrend on the ATR and the RSI. We did see a bit of a drop, a kickback there, and I don't have data for the closing trade for some reason. Anyway, so yes, we'll consider this one, but we'll do it with caution. So we'll keep it in the list there, and that's Beam. All right, I'm going to go through the rest, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, we're back. So we've got a couple here. First one is Beam, Therapeutics. So if we quickly look at the candlestick chart here and some of the information, so we've got that Harami pattern there. On the prediction, it reckons that we're looking good, $104 from 99.5. So there's some margin there, potential. We're on a strong trend across all of those ADX checks. The stochastics look good, the MACD look good, the ATR looks good, and the RSI looks good. So that's 10 out of 10 for this one. So we'll trade that one. If we look at Intuitive Surgical, let's quickly look at these indicators. So again, if we run the prediction on this one, I think it was lower. Yes, significantly lower. We can see that there was a drop. There's a closing Morobozu. We can see a bit of a dip here on the stochastics. There's a crossover on the MACD. It's more than 5 trade days ago, so that's good. And we can see a dip here on the RSI. So on this one, I'm going to go, and I'm going to mark that so we can see. On this one, I'm going to go short. Sunrun, let's quickly have a look at this one. If we look at the indicators again, let's do a quick predict here. We're currently on 86.39. It's reckoning 91.21. Got some patterns there. It's rising up, so it's the right time to buy, according to the stochastics, at least using my strategy. We've got a nice gap here on the MACD. There is a good ATR, and we can see from the RSI it's above the 50. It's not great, but let's hope it bounces off that 50 again. So I think this is one we'll trade also. And finally, we've got Shake Shack. So let's have a quick look at this one before we look at some of the other popular stocks like Tesla and those ones. So 127.57 from 111 according to the machine learning. We can see that we're doing quite well here. There's a slight risk of a consolidation period here, but let's see what happens. It's not quite at the bottom of the stochastics yet, so usually we'd like to wait for that to turn around a bit, but a huge gap here on the MACD and bouncing off the top, right off the top there on the 70 level here on the RSI. So all of that actually looks good. I think I'm going to trade all of these. So that'll be these bottom 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's just look at some of the other stocks that we've got here. If we look at Tesla, it's very difficult to run a machine learning on this one because it's so irrational and erratic the way that it jumps all over the show. So it's saying 818, we're on 846. It's looking like it's going up, looking at the other indicators here, but really difficult to tell. If we look at the patterns here, we can see there's the Hikaki pattern, and if we look at this one, we can see that if the last one is bullish, it seems like that there is a potential uptrend. It's not super bullish, but it is bullish, so there is potential that this would go up. Maybe it won't hit the ceiling here at the top, but it's definitely bouncing off of the support line that we find here. So the chances of Tesla going up is pretty good, I would reckon. But then again, you know, no, it's not a 10 out of 10 really. I've currently got Fiverr running. I bought this stock a few trade days ago, and if we just look at the indicators here, we can see lots of potential. It's at the right time now actually to buy, so hopefully, you know, my stock turns a little bit better now. Big gap on the MACD. If we look at the prediction here, 237, we're in 243, so not overly confident on the machine learning, but there we are. I've already got it, so I'm going to stick it out a little bit. All right, and finally, NIO. Let's have a quick look at NIO here, and let's just look at the current indicators for NIO. Let's do a quick predict. So we're on 61.95 for the last close, and this is reckoning pretty much the same for the next trade on the machine learning, at least. Not a huge gap on the MACD. Everything else looking okay. Not a 10 out of 10, but you know, there's some potential, I guess. I'm going to leave it for now. Let's look at the Blink Charging Company as well. Although these didn't pop up on my search list, I still like to check these active stocks really, because there's usually some money to be made. So seems like there's potential for a bit of, according to the machine learning, a bit of profit here. If we look at the candle detected, so there's an inverted hammer on the 22nd, so that's what we've got there. What else do we have? We've got a short line candle, so not much, not telling us much really. It looks like there's a bit of a slowdown here in the stochastics in the upturn, and we can see the closing gap on the MACD, and we can see the downtrend on the RSI. Doesn't mean it's gonna drop, it could just bounce off of that midline. There might be some potential here for a trade. Anyway, I'm gonna just stick with my guns and do these bottom 4. So let's head over to the portfolio. You'll see that it shows that I'm currently ready to take profit on Fiverr. This is based on my settings. So in my settings, I indicate what my loss warning value is at, and that's at $340 more or less, and my win warning at 738. So if it's above that, it'll tell me that you should probably cash out on this one, but it does not take into consideration the current price. So that will be the last close price. So if we look at the real last close price here on Fiverr, we'll see that it actually went down a bit at $242.51. So that's what we do when I click on current price. Now, if I click on current price again, I'll tell it to automatically close it if it hit any of those values in the previous trades. It didn't, so that's why it's not closed yet. All right, so because I bought this one on the 21st, right? Okie doke. So let's have a look at the other stocks that we want to buy. So it started with Beam, so I'm going to just select Beam here from the list, and then we're going to go add trade. It should not do that, so let's see what's going on there. Give me a second. Okay, I found a little bug. I quickly fixed it. So let's try that again. So we want to buy Beam. We're going to go add trade, and this will automatically calculate the position sizing for us. So the quantity here, it says 121 at $99.20, which is the current price. We want to sell at $105.30. That is a difference of $6.10 or 6%. 6.15%. The ATR on this is $10.16, so that means it should be easily achievable. Now let's look at the stop loss here, because this is where I still play around with figures. I seem to be losing lots of trades because my stop loss is not low enough, and then it bounces back up, but my deal closed before I hit the target price. It hits the stop loss. So this is currently on a slight downtrend at the post-market price. So if we here currently at 2.84%, is that reasonable? We also need to consider what the risks are. We can lose $341.22, or we can make $738.10. If we increase that stop loss, then we have to increase that target price as well. In this case, we can do that because we can see the ATR is below that. So let's do this real time. So while I've got my cursor in here, I can see the ATR and my range, and if I change this to $95, we can see that changed to 4%, right? So that's minus 4.23%. So let's set that up. That means we stand to lose $508. So that means we want to increase here as well. So let's set this at $108, which means we stand to make double that we could potentially lose. That's a little bit more acceptable, and we're still within that ATR quite comfortably. So I'm going to hit record, and that's going to add that trade with the indicated data for us, so that in future we can go back and see what happened. All right. It's showing a negative there because it's looking at the last close price. Once I hit the current price, it'll update that to the latest, so don't worry about that. Now let's just see what we're doing here. So this one, Intuitive Surgical, I said I'm going to go short on, right? So we're going to go ISRG, and we'll go add trade. I'm going to hit short. So it's telling us to go to $700. That's way too much. That's double the ATR we've got there at the top. So we need to figure out whether it's worth trading this one or not. What is the ATR? $23. That's not a lot. So we'll have to buy so many here in order to justify a reasonable profit versus a reasonable loss value. So let's start with the loss and calculate and see what this is. We might not do this trade. So the difference currently is 2.85% here, right? So our ATR is 21, and that's almost to the max, which is 23. Yeah, I don't think there's any potential here. There's no way we're going to hit double that within a day or two or three. It's too risky. So I'm not going to go for this trade. We're going to remove that one. Okay, let's go to the next one then. So this one, RUN, run. Let's see what happens with this one. So looking good. So we've got an ATR here just within that margin, and here we've got that 83.9. Again, it's only minus 2.84% difference. It's a little bit risky. We might hit that stop loss, but I'm going to go ahead and do this one anyway. All the signals looked good, so let's just try that. Hit yes. Okay, now the final one that we've got here was Shake Shack. So let's look at this one. Once that pops up, right, I need to click on add trade. Okay, so right, already it's giving me a warning. It's saying we're exceeding that ATR. You see the ATR is quite low, 4.79. That's not really much. I don't think there's a lot of potential here for profit. I'm going to skip this one, because if we increase that ATR so that we've got a 2R for the target price versus 1R for the stop loss, we're just going to sit without those, way outside that ATR, and we don't want that. That's usually not good. So I'm going to delete this one, remove stock, yes, and I'm going to remove this one also. And that's pretty much it for today. So I didn't run my machine learning predictions on these ones because I'm looking at the technical indicators. Of course you can do that, and I like to do it from time to time. A stock that I like to trade is Twilio, so let's quickly run the prediction model on this one and just see what happens. Let's grab that current price, which might be a little bit different from the last close, and let's hit predict. Now all this does is with a quick predict just does a single iteration. This will run through a number of iterations that you can set in your settings, and it will then yield, you know, the low end and the high end prices would then be displayed for you, and you can then choose to trade straight off of those prices. Whether that fits within the A2R or not, you'll see in the trade stock dialog. Right, so let's see what that looks like. So it's currently on iteration 8, running on 9, so we can already see 394. that's a few dollars above and below. You know, it looks like, according to the machine learning, it's kind of consolidating a bit, so nothing much there that I want to get into. I only trade once there's a very confident result on the prediction. It doesn't mean those prices are cast in stone. It doesn't mean we don't have a real crystal ball. That's a prediction looking at patterns. So it's a pattern detection algorithm that uses machine learning to detect previous patterns. It cannot tell you the real price, but it will give you an indication on whether it thinks that it is highly likely that the stock will continue trending upwards or potentially go downwards. Anyway, that's the theory of that. So that's how it works. I've added some other cool features too, which you're welcome to check out. Download the app. Remember, stock trading is dangerous and you could potentially lose a lot of money. So don't just go off of what I'm saying. Do your own research and understand what you're doing when investing in the stock market. Software like this, I developed this specific software to help me with my type of trading, which is technical analysis and using indicators. You could also refer to the fundamental data, so looking at news and what's happening in the world with stocks. So there's a live data button here that scrapes websites for the current selected stock, and it will give you some information on that and see what's happening in the industry and with that kind of stock and some market sentiment and all of that. Now I don't always rely purely on the technical analysis. Sometimes, if I'm unsure, I'd look at some of the fundamental data as well. But having said that, I have wins and I have losses, and that's kind of the cost of business. In the end, we try to win more than we lose, and that's how I yield the profit. In any case, that's it for me for today. Please share, like, subscribe, download the app, use it. It's really cheap. Really, the cost of the app is just so I can buy coffee from time to time. So if you like it, please share, support, and happy trading. Cheers.
I like it.